Hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you may be tuning in. This is Yonks, and join with me with the fellow contributors. We are in our second working group, Solar EV for Churches. And we've been having conversations around Colorado because that's where we're launching Gigs Go Green here in 2024. So we've got a lot of agenda, and I'm actually going to hop right in over here. We've been doing our agenda and meeting notes right here in Google Docs. And right now, one of the things that we're going to talk about is our working group series goals. And this is something that I want to get better at. Like, I don't know how many working group series that myself, Tyler, and Amy have participated in, getting to where we're at. But this is one of the things that I don't think that we've done well previously. But anyway, wanting to talk about what we're really looking to accomplish within this working group series. Now, we don't have a finite end for when this working group series is going to conclude, but we have some pretty aggressive timeframes here in April. So first of all, we're developing our go-to-market strategy for solar EV, focusing on a niche of churches in Colorado. And we had a great conversation on Friday, and I'll show the list here in a moment of our, I think we've got 18 churches on the list, but we'll talk about that. And then one of the things that we're wanting to do is and I think that there's probably some opportunity to maybe publish an article or here's our newsletter right here. We don't have anything on it. This is something that's super fresh, a very greenfield. Paragraph.xyz, for those that are familiar with Substack, this is a Web3 version of Substack. And I'm not even going to unpack what that means under the hood, but it's pretty amazing, especially in line with what we're doing with blockchain technology. So, and then the other thing too is wanting to obtain 3 letters of intent from churches to officially begin the conversations with solutions providers. And one of the reasons that we've got a date here of April the 8th, and I'm gonna actually pause here and let everybody on the call today potentially reflect. And if you want to chime in some thoughts on these goals, feel free to open up your mic and speak up. And if nobody does, then we'll hop right into the rest of our agenda. All right. Well, I don't see anybody open their mic, so we're gonna lock and load with these goals. And if that's something that you want to reflect on between now and one of the things, and this is a note that I made in for today's. Well, actually, I did it. I'm going to make it right now. So this seems to be a great time, Wednesday, 1 to 2 p.m. through April 4th or April 3rd. I can't remember what it is. I'll get these on everybody's calendar, and this is something that we'll just do weekly between now and the first week of April. So one of the things that we've been going through is we're getting ready to have our second conversation with faith-based consulting through Sean Newman at Illum Consulting. So this is something that we've got on our calendar after spring break coming up here the last Friday, and then we're going to do every two weeks they're out to conclude those 4 sessions. And I think that this will work really well because this will give us the opportunity to have, I think, 2 or 3 more working groups to really get this refined. And then the other thing too that will happen between here is that we'll be launching our Kickstarter. So one of the things that we discussed last week, and one of the things that's happened since then is that we, Tyler, Amy, and Nick, aka Sooth, has enrolled to do our Gigs Go Green Hero X Solve It. And I got to say that I actually watched over here on the resources the informational webinar, and I'm super excited as far as being able to position. And we talked a little bit about this, and I'm actually just going to solve it as an acronym: Solutions for Lasting Viable Infrastructure. Viable Energy Infrastructure Technologies prize aims to empower communities to identify and implement innovative clean energy solutions in a way that works for their unique needs and challenges. And I feel really good about submitting, and this is one of the things that we've really refined our Gigs Go Green narrative over the last 6+ months by submitting and refining our narrative. This will now be the fourth Hero X that we've been refining. The first two were for solar EV, and then more recently, the Community Energy Innovation Prize. So this kind of really goes in line when I was talking about the letters of intent in our working group series goals. That's one of the reasons that we've got the date here for April the 8th is over here on the Hero X. The timeline for this is our submission deadline is due by April the 12th. And we really believe that this will add a substantial amount of evidence to hopefully tip the scale in our favor. And one of the things that is there's 80,000 reasons, $80,000 reasons to submit this prize for that. And the thing that's fabulous about prize money versus grant money is that there's substantially less red tape to do. So this is one of the things that we can be thinking about is one of the things that I don't think have done a great job of in the past. And we've kind of had a little bit of thoughts, but really creating a solid budget proposal for our project. And here, if we win this prize, again, that would give us $80,000 to do a budget for. So that's just something to be thinking about. And this is something too, Ashley, that's a completely optional aspect. We're going to do this regardless of, because it's kind of like an offshoot, really, of solar EV for churches. Solar EV for churches is just one aspect of our overall go-to-market strategy within Gigs Go Green, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yes, there's lots of branches to the project that you have.
There absolutely are, and as I mentioned to you offline, and we'll mention very on the record here on our live stream, we choose to build what we're building as a choose your own adventure. And like one of the ethoses that I have that's very different for a lot of founders operate with a, hey, what's your exit strategy? Like they want to build this business so that they can receive a payday so that they can have financial freedom. So Tyler and I are blessed where we don't need a payday to have financial freedom. So we're really building this as an exit to community, wanting to build something here that can plug into. And how life ebbs and flows, there's cycles of life that can contribute more to a particular project and cycles of life when maybe contribute less. We want to create enough autonomy within what we're building where we can kind of ebb and flow, and what we build will have permanence. So that's just kind of a tangential conversation to what we're building. So let me check off these here that we've been discussed so far. So one of the things, and this is, I want to amplify and thank.
May I interject one
Go,
question
absolutely,
for you?
Ashley, for sure.
With the solve it competition, where are we on the steps of being ready to submit for that, and what still need to be done to submit for that? And is that been broken down into any specific action items that need to be tackled or task items?
So the way that I envisioning this unfolding is that this is something that we have gotten so good at due to the fact that this will be our fourth one that we've done within the last 6 to 9 months. And the narrative is something that we're largely going to be copying and pasting from the previous narrative. The main thing that we're really needing to do, there's two things actually. And that's reflected in the goal right here that I still have highlighted, is obtaining the letters of intent from churches. And then there's also an opportunity here, and this is a good segue, is to get some letters of support from Paul and Maggie. I mean, we're going through this community-owned real estate academy together. We're going through exercises, and this is one of the things that is going to kind of be a homework here, because we only have a very limited amount of time during our working group. But this is where us kind of getting better at doing some collaboration, in the Google Docs that Paul had forwarded. And I'll get that uploaded so that we can contribute to that within this solar EV for churches. But the so the thoughts are too, Ashley, and this is one of the reasons that put this with our working group series to do our solar EV for churches through April 3rd. Is because the thoughts is from April 3rd to April 12th is to have a couple working groups for those that are wanting to contribute to the Solve It, where we'll get everything finalized there. So besides the letters of intent that have already mentioned several times from 3 churches, and potentially some letters of support from other organizations within Colorado here, the other big thing that we really need to get a substantially better version of is our one pager that describes gigs go green. And solar EV is one of 3 of these synergistic cooperatives that Paul referred to as tri-co-op.
Okay, I know I brought her name up before we went live, but honestly, this is where I really think someone like Erica Prather, who has quite a substantial reputation in the environmental community, and getting her stamp of approval or in agreement with what we're trying to accomplish. She's leading panel discussions at national events talking about environment. And I think that having her be someone that we get a letter from in support of our efforts would go a far way in kind of environmental circles, from what I can see of knowing her and her connections.
So I've got here as next actions homework with you tagged, Ashley, facilitate intro with Erica Prather, and I'm not sure if I'm getting her name, so apologies if I didn't get that correct. So I would absolutely love to do that, and that's one of the things that we could take that offline of what that can look like. And the other opportunity here too, and I don't have this itemized, is the opportunity, because we've identified 3 pilot communities throughout the last 6 to 9 months: Boulder, Welby, and Inglewood. And I'm not going to go into the reasons, the high level reasons that are the tax incentives. And those, the more that, because there's city level and county level, and the opportunity to connect with their sustainability and renewable energy people within those organizations. Boulder, I absolutely know, has one. And one of the reasons that Boulder is at the top of our list is actually understand that Boulder had in prior years attempted to not utilize Xcel Energy, the big energy investor-owned utility that serves most of the Denver area and Colorado at large. So that's another opportunity that haven't specifically itemized. And if we could get those conversations to move forward, where we could potentially get a letter of support from those organizations or those persons. The other thing too that's similar to that, but a little bit different, is the opportunity for us as an organization and or individuals to join some aligned organizations, like one that's on the short list, and I might not get it correct, but it's the Colorado Solar and Battery Storage Association. Because when you think about like what are we wanting to do, deploy solar and battery plus EV charging, getting some connections there. So that's another thing that we Tyler and I have been having some side conversations, and I'm going to put that here as to um, short list top. I'm going to say 3 to 5 trade associations to join as org or individuals.
As you're talking about this, another two things come to mind. I think what you're referring to when you're talking about the city level, like Boulder, for example. I worked for the city of Lafayette on a contract role, which is Boulder County. Within that city, there was concerned volunteers that were part of a committee advisory board of such that was about environmental focused efforts. And so if you would tag me on this, I would be happy to look into seeing if there's such a board for the city of Boulder. I would assume there probably is based on just what their kind of demographic of people are. And trying to get in touch with that committee might be another benefit. It was like an advisory committee is what it was in Lafayette. And then the other kind of segue to that, and there may be some crossover of residents who are in Boulder who are maybe part of that committee, I don't know, but is the connection to NRail and knowing that my husband has worked for the federal government at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and the crossover of people who oftentimes work at NRail and NOAA, if there's maybe somebody from that arena, I don't know. It's just it's something to think about how we build like clout and status and support of people who are experts in the field or knowledgeable in the field or have led by example in their choice of career field or whatnot, or volunteerism about the importance of this. So those are just some other thoughts of people to onboard or somehow stand in stamp of approval with what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I would think that getting some of these should be very, very easy. And that's I'm gonna put it in here as like a sub item kind of the I think that's separate enough. So yeah, I would absolutely agree. And the more that we can just like, because we're not going to get all of this stuff done, like, because right now it's the 13th of March. We're literally talking less than 1 month that we have to facilitate these. And sometimes these conversations move, a lot of the times from my perspective, they move slower than I would like, but that's because everybody is operating on their own time frames. So but anyway, bouncing back up to the community-owned real estate as far as the homework, and this is something that I will, like I said, take an action item, and I'm gonna put this down here. Yonks, create homework that we can work on from Core Academy Entity Design Cohort. I'll put send an email with next actions. And just a side note, this is something that I want us to continually be thinking about, continually be having conversations, and continually improving upon is what do we want to communicate and how do we want to communicate that? And that's one of the things that Tyler and I are having side conversations about that in our own personal things that we're doing outside of just project scopes and stuff like that. So, and I want to thank real quick Paul from Community Wealth Building and Maggie from the Neighborhood Development Collaborative for all the effort that they're putting forward for organizing. And this is a long series of workshops and stuff that have not even happened. And there's already been a good number of them that have happened already up until this point. So does anybody want to chime in some additional thoughts on these two topics before we move down to our next checkbox? Don't see any mic opening up. And I'll also, Amy, forward you the email to bring this a little bit more in loop. So, related to entity design cohort, one of the things that has been a long-standing conversation that we've been having is, that's kind of funny, I didn't miss the colon there or something. So this is an audiobook that Tyler and I ordered. I haven't read through it yet, but this came up on my radar. Slicing Pie Handbook, Perfectly Fair Equity Splits for Bootstrap Startups. And this is something that we really need to factor into consideration, because what we're building is, we're by design wanting it to be community owned. And this is one of the things that we've got an almost unlimited flexibility through the way that we're going to be doing the community, or delivering the community ownership aspect. But this is something that we need to think things through, because like building out these solar EV, the solar canopy, the battery storage, and the EV charging, these are projects that will likely take 6 to 18 months from when the conversation starts to when that infrastructure is online. And being thoughtful about how that we can structure this, but not only that, really having a frame of reference that we can say, hey, this is a handbook or playbook that we're using this off of. And I think that there's a website here. I was looking at this the other day, slicing pie, yeah, slicingpie.com. So you have found the world's only fair startup equity calculator. Because, like, besides just figuring out how that's going to look for these distributed energy resources that we're building out, one of the things that I've said and will continue to say, the model that we're creating, we're wanting it to be able to be replicated on a state-by-state basis. And that's one of the things that I'm continuing to think about. And like, one of the things along that line is how that we can slice the like, but anyway, so this is one of the things that Learn Slicing Pie, this is something that I've talked to Tyler about, that I think that we're going to pick up ourselves, is the Slicing Pie course. So anyway, I would encourage, and I don't know if you're more of an audiobook, but this does come in an audiobook or a paperback for less than $15 or $20 or whatever. So, does anybody have any thoughts on this? Because this is something that we'll likely be having more conversations throughout, and using this as how that we're going to figure out how to split up these the equity surrounding this, what we're creating, if that makes sense. All right, go ahead, Ashley.
Sounds like I have some new reading material.
New reading material, and this is again so that we can all be on the same page. And but not only that, because just continue to build this into, like, as far as, hey, here's the playbook that we're using. And I was going to circle back with Paul and see if this is something that he's familiar with, because I didn't really, when I was looking through his materials on the entity design cohort, I wasn't seeing the equity or how to split that up with something that was really referenced too much in there. So that's something that I was planning on asking about in one of his upcoming office hours. All right. Anybody else want to chime in on Slicing Pie? So, solar EV for churches. This is what we spent some time going through and added a good amount of. I cleaned it up a little bit. This is our Notion page where we're just summarizing in a externally like this is something that we should be able to show somebody and kind of explain what things are. And this is something that I cleaned up a little bit here as far as site selection strategy so that people could see like what we're looking. And I don't know if this is something that we want to leave on here, but a lot of this is stuff that we worked through before in previous things, and this is something that we can still clean up. But what we're talking about right now is the top 10 list, and we added some and I want to thank Ashley for all that she did of adding churches to this. Had a side conversation with Amy. I know that she has some connections in her life experience with the Catholic Church. We haven't right now had any conversations as far as shortlisting any Catholic churches that might be strategic on this list for several different reasons. The conversations gravitated largely towards the United Methodist churches. And I think that it's worth mentioning too that I actually created an unofficial page, and I say unofficial because we haven't had like we're not in an official partnership with the Mountain Sky Conference, which is a four-state conference supporting churches here in Colorado. But this is one of the things that this is a short list of and right now let's just look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these are 7 of 18 of the churches on the list here that we've shortlisted and prioritized. So I'm not going to go through the main reason that did the priorities the way that did, and this is something that open to having conversations about this, because this is one of the things that this is March the 13th. Right now, we've got a goal. And one of the things that I'm going to actually add right now is for myself is Yonks create the Google Docs draft for our top 10 list. So I'm going to create the a draft for our newsletter post. And the new, it doesn't have to just be on paragraph. Like that's one of the things that open for refining and content and refining our content, and our content strategy is going to be a continual conversation here in 2024 as we commit to getting better at creating content at scale. So I would encourage everybody to look over this top 10 list. And these, again, the reason that Boulder, for several different reasons, is high on our list. I already mentioned that that's one of 3 pilot communities. So these got bumped up just because of Boulder towards the top of the list. Right now, there's one that's time sensitive that's in Denver area that we don't have any connections with, that is a #1 priority. And did you have connections with Grace Commons Church in Boulder, Ashley?
That's a hard question to answer. Not really. I used to, but there's a backstory to that. So no, not really.
No worries. Yeah, I understand. So, and this is one of the things that we will be refining through our conversations with Sean, because this is something that, and not only that, but like one of the things that we've already started having some conversations with, besides just taking this approach towards through an organizational lens, we're also looking at doing a Kickstarter campaign with some strategy. And the main goal with that is to, and I'm not even going to unpack that. That's something that we're a little early for. So main thing is just to kind of like see, and I'm taking a look here. It looks like we only have one church that's a #2 on this list. So I might deprioritize a couple of these from a priority 1 to a priority of 2, because the reason that this Fountain of Life Community Church, this is a pretty time sensitive one. Their low income credit opportunity, if we don't get something agreed upon by early September, the low income, and this is, I'm not even going to unpack what that looks like. I guess I could show real quick here on this. This is a pretty cool tool. I can't remember how much time that we spent, but I'm currently logged in on the marketplace.evergreen.locations. And this is the best tool that I found, and it took months. And part of the reason is that I think that this tool has improved substantially since we even started having some of these conversations. But the reason here that the Fountain Life Church, which is right here, let's take a look at this one, is it's in a dark purple area, and they're on the 2015 low income community. I don't even know what that means, but we have to have something in writing before the end of August, before September 1st. So that's very time sensitive as far as having those conversations. So that's one of the things that we'll work with Sean during the conversation here and really work on getting that documented, where we have a really solid strategy that we can work behind. So I think we've covered all the things. Does anybody else want to talk about the top 10 lists? One thing that I want to add, and this is something that I'll create a draft that we can review as kind of like a homework. I'm going to add this as another thing. Yonks, create a Google Docs draft for refining our top 10 list. And the thoughts here is to just kind of unpack in a written manner some of the process that we've already gone through. And some of this already exists pretty nicely here as far as like our site selection strategy. And again, this is where we could say, hey, where we could potentially just include our blog post, building our top 10 list, and then include that in an email communication or a direct message conversation where we're attempting to get something on the books to have a more concrete conversation to further the narrowing of this list with the goal of getting a letter of intent so that we can really start developing, or co-developing is the best way to position these solar EV projects. All right. So one of the things, go ahead, Ashley. I see you have your mic open.
Sorry, I usually just jump in there, so I'll try
No,
to
do that, please.
tell me.
Yeah.
I just would love to maybe understand what your thoughts are about how we're gonna go about getting these letters of intent. So, like for me, for those who don't know, Scott, is it Spiegel? Is that how you say his last name?
Spivak, I think.
Okay. You're right. I said it totally wrong. Spivak. Because he is an active leader involved in and has a background in environmental in that career, and is highly connected to United Methodist, the Broomfield United Methodist Church. Like getting that letter of intent, I think it's going to be like slam dunk easy. I think we need to figure out what the strategy is to getting those other two letters of intent. And a thought that comes to me, but I'd love to hear what you're thinking is strategically how to get these letters of intent. When it comes to the church, you said it was time sensitive. What was the name of it again? Fountain? Was it Fountain?
Yeah, it's the Fountain of Life Community Church, and that's because they have the 2015 low income. Yes.
Right. So I feel like that one, it needs to be a top priority in getting these letters of intent. Would you agree?
I would, and I think that Trinity United, we talked about that on our Friday conversation. Let me take a look because that might
Right.
be.
Those are the three that to me seem like the ones we should go after for getting the letter of intent as the top priority. With that said, I think that between Judy and I'm really bad at remembering last names, but Judy, who is also part of the Broomfield United Methodist Creation Care Committee, Judy and Scott are both highly involved in the blue or in the I want to say blue sky, big sky,
Mountain Sky.
mountain sky, mountain sky regional initiative. So they may be our way to tap in to finding out who is on their at Trinity's United Methodist, their committee, the creation committee or creation care committee. Because I believe each one of those churches has a committee dedicated to that. So that's the way I think you get the door in for the letter of intent with Trinity. I mean, yes, I know the pastor and he's really good people. I could maybe just ask him directly, but I think it's working with the people who've already been working on this initiative and reaching out to Judy and Scott and saying, would you introduce us to the people on the creation care, whatever committee that is the environmental element at Trinity? As far
Yeah.
as the Fountain of Life Church, do you have leads? Does anybody know anybody from that church?
No, and that's one of the things that we haven't specifically, because like one of the things that we right now have, because right now like Fountain of Life is something that we have until August. That doesn't mean that we should wait until July to start having conversations, but one of the things that we need to do right now is be as strategic as possible because we've got less than 30 days to finalize our submission for the Hero X. And one thing that I am absolutely certain of is that this deadline for the Hero X solvent, April 12th, is absolutely set in stone. And like the opportunity for us to be strategic and focus where we, for example, Mountain Sky Conference and looking at the UMC churches in Denver area. And one of the things, real quick, I'm going to bounce back to the solar EV for churches main table. I did right now while we're on the call update the priorities for a couple like Trinity United Methodist that also has the same before September 1st low income / justice 40. Bumped that up from a 2 to a 1. And then I deprioritized a couple of these, like the Grace Commons, where we don't have any soft connections in Boulder Valley Christian Church, down to a 2. And I might even look in here, I might bump Boulder Valley back up to a 1 since it is the energy community. The energy community is the maximum, and you can see here 70%. And just to like put some numbers out there, if the solar EV is a $10 million budget, that's $1 million difference as far as from a tax credit standpoint that these. So I'm gonna reprioritize Boulder Valley back up to a 1 here real quick because of the energy community.
Well, and also that's a church I know people in leadership there. And so we're not cold calling. I know someone who's actively and very involved in that
Awesome.
church. So.
Fabulous. So, and this is something too, like I said, the I like having fun with exploring content in different ways that we can kind of, because we as a team, and not only we as a team, but like just the resources in Colorado, when you think about like pipelining projects, I would be ecstatic if we're working on 3 projects in 2024. So that's kind of like why that we're doing a letter of intent with 3 projects. And here we've got a list of 18 churches. Every single one of these churches, with how, regardless of how many tax incentives are involved or not, there's a substantial amount of opportunity for these organizations to upgrade their parking lot and move their parking lot from an expense into an income producing asset that creates more benefit, meaningful benefits for the community at large. So that leaves us to the next one, and we only have a couple minutes. So Earth Day 2024. I love that you see the opportunity around that as well, Ashley. And we've already we're actually going to have a conversation tomorrow, and I can't remember. I think we've got it from 2 to 2:30. It's completely optional, but if you're interested in, and this is with chainraise.io, and I'll just open up their homepage here. Well, that's not too reassuring. Let me try did I get that right? Anyway, we've got a conversation with Chainraise tomorrow, and that's who is doing our regulation crowdfunding offering. And to unpack what that is, regulation crowdfunding with Gigs Go Green, we're launching the 3 synergistic cooperatives. Regulation crowdfunding will allow us to raise up to 5 million for each one of those cooperatives. So if we sell out our offerings, and Chainraise is the one that is the registered broker dealer with FINRA for facilitating our regulation. They're the regulation crowdfunding platform. So that conversation is tomorrow, and we're actually planning to have on, and let me put this here as planning to have several webinars on Earth Day 2024 where people can invest into Gigs Go Green for Colorado. And the exciting thing about this is the capital that we're going to be raising through these offerings is capital that we're going to be deploying in Colorado. And a good way to look at it is like this solar EV, which is one of 3, since this is the solar EV working group. The bucket for that will be a bucket that we can raise up to 5 million. And this is capital that we're going to be looking. And we're not wanting to use all of our money because I've already talked about we're really expecting the spend to build out this infrastructure to be 5 to 15 million. So using all of our money from this offering isn't something that makes sense. And that's one of the things, like, kind of just thinking back to slicing pie, is how do we want to really slice this to create fair value? And that's pretty surface level. But right now we're planning to have several webinars on Earth Day 2024 and the opportunity where the churches that we have got letters of intent or letters of support from, or any of the organizations, this is something that we can collectively invite them to, because this will literally be the first day. And the way that regulation crowdfunding works is that we have an entire 12 months, so 1 year, to raise via that regulation crowdfunding offering. So these webinars that we'll be doing kicking off on Earth Day is something that we'll be doing quite a lot of in 2024. But that's kind of our thoughts surrounding that. But that's just one more thing that we're building in as far as some key dates. But what are some ideas that you had, Ashley, surrounding Earth Day?
So I obviously need to do a little bit more thinking about it, but one thing that really comes to mind to me is people who are influencers. I would definitely put Erica as a social media influencer when it comes to environmental initiatives, but maybe finding other influencers that exist that are shedding light on it. And even if they do like a one shout out thing, even to go to one of these webinars and learn more. Or, you know, I again, going back to the advisory boards, the environmental advisory boards that the cities have. If we, I mean, it's just me thinking out loud, but if, and I'm not saying we should change anything, but let's say that all 3 of our letters of intent, or we can get a decent number from either Boulder or Denver, which seems like the most logical ones to shoot for, comes alongside us and says, we as an advisory committee to the city are wanting to partner with the efforts of Gigs Go Green, and here's their webinar, and they do some PR and marketing through city outlets about environmental, because kind of being on the advisory board gives you some access to some marketing and communication tools that the city has. I don't know. Those are just like some things that kind of come to mind. It's not really like fully processed out, but some ideas that make me think about it.
I absolutely love that. And the more that we just be thoughtful surrounding those conversations, and one of the things that I don't even know how much that we've really begun to unpack yet is that we're creating some really strong economic incentives through our entity design. Because when you think about what we're doing here, and I'm not actually going to open up, and let me go here real quick. So let me go. This is gigsgogreen .com.org. We've got both .com and .org, and it redirects to our link tree. And this is one of the things that I've been doing increasingly better as far as keeping updated, and this is one of the things that I will continue to update. But one of the things, and the reason that I brought this up is we're going to be here launching Kickstarter, and where that this is important is because the way that we're going to be creating, like with Tesla Black DAO, it's going to be a membership community, $97 a year. And we're creating an economic incentive for affiliate marketers, and whether it's an individual or an organization, to have an economic incentive, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit, to amplify what we're building. And they can receive, just like, like imagine a church sending out an email saying, "Hey, here's a project that we're aligned with, and go check it out. And if you love it, then back them on Kickstarter." And then that church could, or that organization could have an affiliate, and we're actually going to be using Kickbooster for facilitating that here, kickbooster.me. But anyway, I see Ashley has her mic open. Go ahead, Ashley.
Well, when you were saying that, it made me think about the other low hanging fruit when it comes to Earth Day. Obviously, if you've created a whole initiative as a region of United Methodist churches, and this is where I'm with Amy, maybe there are Catholic churches or other denominations of churches that have said, no, this is a top priority to us, and we're going to shed light and make either committees about that or give top priority. Where do we put our energy or our money or our resources as a church denomination towards this? That on Earth Day, I could see those churches. The easiest one for me to think about is United Methodist, because we're already looking at so many that have this care creation committee. Do plugs on their social media outlets or in their e-newsletters to their church congregants about what the church is doing related to partnering with us. And maybe that turns into a segue. If you'd like to learn more, here's the link. I don't think that we can go as far as like give us money, because I think that'll be a push. But if we can at least get them going to the landing page, maybe obtaining their information so that we can add them to our email list. And that's the other thing. If there are any Earth Day festivals, events, celebrations, service projects, those seem like the type of people that even we could obtain their contact information or get them connected in. I don't know what all that would look like exactly, but I think they already get the value. They already appreciate it. And getting them connected to what we're doing is the
Yeah,
best way.
absolutely. I want to. I'm looking at the clock here. We're already 7 minutes past the hour. Wanting to be respectful of everyone's time. So I think that we did pretty good of capturing the next actions and the homework here on this list. And one of the things that going to get better at is using a tool. And I'm gonna go over here real quick. This is the task management. So I'm going to work on transposing some of these tasks just so that we can, this is again, working better at embracing and using tools and technology to most effectively scale. And here is the board that I actually created, Solar EV for churches. And this is where we can create tasks and stuff like this. Like I haven't even created yet the task, and I'm basically going to duplicate the one from our previous working group for facilitating the stuff on that. But that's one of the things. But besides these action items and homework, is there anything that should be on the list for getting done between now and our next working group? I don't see anybody opening their mic. Any closing thoughts? So just to recap, this is going to be now a weekly reoccurring, and I'll get that calendar invite sent out for the ones upcoming here throughout the. We're going to run on this schedule through the 3rd of April, and then, as mentioned, we'll likely lean into some working groups surrounding doing our Hero X Solve It. And depending on what type of traction may occur, may have a working group specifically for Solve It. The opportunity to review some of the informational webinar, that's where I would start, and the slides for that. I'm going to take some time reviewing the rules to make sure that there's not anything that's blaringly a flag or a gotcha. But anyway, I'm gonna go on mute here and let anybody else chime in some thoughts before we bring this to a wrap today.
It was the You and Me Tyler show. I don't know. I'd love to hear some last thoughts from somebody out there.
I've heard Brooke be very noisy upstairs, but and I've been seeing some pictures from Amy traveling, so I don't know what her ability to.
Yeah, we're here, we're listening. You're not alone, Miss Ashley. It's just that I'm out and about in Seattle waterfront with my babies. So we're here.
Good. Well, it's good to hear you're here, Amy. Glad to hear your voice. Thanks for being present. I appreciate you. Just good to hear another. Like I said, I feel like an echo chamber if it wasn't for Tyler. So
And I saw Tyler give us a yes. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah, I'm here too, but Amy's baby is an adult. My baby is rubbing Play-Doh on our couch. So there's like that's what's happening.
thanks for the update. I appreciate knowing that reality. And I said that the Tyler, I meant Jason, and I don't know why, or Yonks. I don't know why I said Tyler, but Yonks
No,
and
it's
I have
fine.
been
He gets
holding
that
it
a lot. So whatever, it's fine.
And normally, Ashley, we try to have Brooke down for a nap, but as Tyler saw when she was doing her junior achievement volunteering this morning, she came home to a Brooke pleasantly PTFO'd on the couch, all cuddly. So she got a probably needed nap because I went to early morning Men's Connect at Flatirons this morning and woke her up as I was getting ready. So she had and then the whole, Ashley and Amy, how much the whole time zone change or the time change things just wrecks kids, especially when it's, when we roll back or whatever. So, or fat click anyway.
I would say it sucks for everyone. I'm not being a fan this week either, so I feel you, Brooke, and I'm right there with you, girl.
All righty. Well, we got through a lot of agenda. We only went 12 minutes over, so I'm very, very excited about this working group series, and I think that this will create a lasting impact here on some things that are not easy to navigate. Because as exciting as what we're doing, the 35 to $40 billion Excel Energy doesn't necessarily want community-owned energy resources to proliferate.
Absolutely. True to that.
All righty. Well, thank you, everybody. Looking forward to our next conversation. And hit me up, Ashley, if you want to be invited to the chain race conversation. It's a 30-minute conversation tomorrow, I think 2 to 2:30. So let me know if you want an invitation to that.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.